Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today, I want to discuss one of the most important topics with you. It's a question that comes up a lot in the construction world. Which should come first? Masonry elements or vertical structural elements, such as columns, wall columns, and shear walls. So we are going to try to answer this question step by step. Stay with me until the end of the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. First, I would like to explain the most common practice on construction sites. Often, builders prefer to construct the masonry walls first and then pour concrete over the vertical structural elements. This method offers several advantages, which is why they choose it. The following are some of these advantages. First, there are fewer facades to form. Having the masonry walls already built simplifies the formwork installation. For example, if we consider the following situation, masonry walls on three sides of these facades. As you can see here, we have three that are already built. Then the only facade requiring formwork is the one directly in front of us. This reduces the overall workload on the construction site and simplifies the formwork installation. Second, the walls gain a degree of temporary rigidity when concrete is poured around the columns or wall columns after the masonry walls have been built. Generally, the bond between concrete and blocks is guaranteed for the first few weeks, and we can say that the wall is reinforced by the column. However, I did use the term temporary, meaning that after a certain time this connection will be damaged and there will be a break in the bond between the column and the masonry elements. This is due to the expansion and contraction of the concrete, especially in areas with significant temperature fluctuations, high and low temperatures. Furthermore, when reinforced concrete elements are left in place until the end of their construction, their verticality can be easily verified. That is, when a wall is built while respecting vertical measurements and checks, columns to which it is connected can easily be measured vertically. However, when independent columns are not connected to any wall, problems with vertical measurements can sometimes occur, and this can even lead to columns that are leaning, like the situation you can see here. And even if it's not always visible to the naked eye, when measurements are taken, a certain inclination is found, and that can have detrimental effects on the entire structure. Now, I would like to present my own point of view. Well, personally, I agree with the procedure that says you should first build the reinforced concrete elements, then proceed with the construction of the perimeter walls and internal portion walls. And I am going to justify this point of view with several points. First, I would like to elaborate on the point I just mentioned. The connection between the column or vertical structural element, whatever its shape and type, and its connection to the masonry elements can easily be damaged due to shrinkage and expansion of the concrete constituting that element. Therefore, building the masonry walls after pouring the columns ensures a certain degree of flexibility between the wall and the column. So we are not trying to embed them, and even if there is expansion or contraction of the concrete, it will not cause a large crack at this junction. So as you can see here, the junction between the post or column and the masonry is done on the traditional way. The concrete is poured after the walls are built, and this is the result. Similarly, in the picture on the right, we have a perimeter post, and there is a large crack in the junction of this post with the two adjacent masonry walls. But actually, I can say that there is a solution we can adopt. It is to embed a wire mesh in the mortar. It will hold the column in place, and even if there is a separation between the masonry wall and the reinforced concrete of the column, it won't be visible in the mortar. Secondly, there is sometimes poor control over the concrete volume and the shape of the column, especially when using pre-cut concrete blocks. Sometimes it's difficult to control the volume of concrete to be poured, and this affects the column's standard shape. We know very well that the column must be perfectly vertical with a rectangular cross section in most cases, but when the masonry elements are poorly made or incorrectly positioned, it can lead to a leaning column or a column with an unusual and an unacceptable shape according to best practices. Thirdly and lastly, the slab beams will apply load on the walls. Therefore, when the walls are built before the structural elements, and here I am referring especially to the slabs, most builders use the masonry walls as a formwork support for the slab. Consequently, a load will be applied to it, something not initially anticipated by the engineering study. So we're talking about a load-bearing wall in this situation, even though it wasn't designed to be one. And at the connection between the wall and the slab or the slab beam, there will be enormous load transferred to this wall, which can in some situations lead to structural problems. Therefore, for all these reasons, I want to emphasize that constructing the structural elements in reinforced concrete first and then proceeding with the construction of the masonry elements, whether for perimeter or separation, that will guarantee the durability of your building. That's the end of the video. Thank you and see you next time.